Thank you everyone for joining us today. My name's Bethany. I'm a Schools and Colleges Engagement Officer from the University of Plymouth. I also have a co-host here, so I'll just let her introduce herself.
Hi everyone, so my name's Gemma. I'm also a Schools and Colleges Engagement Officer for the West Midlands region. So I'll be here today to sort of look at any of your questions that you might have and we'll go through them at the end.
Thanks, Gemma. So today, as you can see, I'll be talking to you about choosing between your university offers. So the main aims of the session are to kind of explain the different types of offers you might receive or may have already received from the universities you've applied to. I'll give you a bit of advice on how to compare the courses and decide on your final two university choices. I'll tell you a little bit about how and when to reply to those offers. And I will leave time at the end for a Q&A session. So if you have any questions at any point during the talk, please ask them via our chat feature. Only myself and Gemma will be able to see your question, but at the end we'll read it aloud and answer it for everyone to hear. As well, if you do have any technical difficulties, let us know via chat and we will try and help you where we can. So in terms of the decisions that universities can make about your application, the three main ones are conditional, unconditional, and unsuccessful. So conditional offers mean that you have a place with the university if you meet certain criteria. So that's usually certain grades or UCAS tariff points. An unconditional offer means that you definitely have a place on the course regardless of what grades you get. And of course, your application may just be unsuccessful, which means regardless of the grades you end up getting, you don't have an offer from that university. You may also have seen a few other kind of combinations of these. So one is called a conditional unconditional, where it's initially conditional, but if you choose them as your first choice university, they'll switch it to an unconditional offer. Just a kind of word of warning about those types of offers. Don't feel kind of tempted to go for them just because you have a guaranteed place. Do think really carefully about your decision and make sure you're choosing a place that you really are passionate about, that you can see yourself studying at for kind of 3 or more years. There has been a big increase in the number of unconditional offers being made. So last year, around a quarter of students received at least one unconditional offer. So from all your offers, you then need to narrow it down to a maximum of 2. So you choose a firm and insurance choice university. Any other offers you have must then be declined. So generally this means you're narrowing down the 5 places you apply to a final 2. So a firm choice is your first choice university and course, the place that you most want to go to. Generally, it has the higher entry requirements out of your firm and insurance, and if you meet those requirements on results day, then this is the university you'll definitely go to. Your insurance choice is your second choice, so it's kind of like a backup in case you don't meet the requirements for your firm choice university. You don't actually have to have an insurance choice, but it kind of makes sense. It's just a safety cushion in case you don't get into your firm choice. Saying that though, only choose a university as your insurance if you're actually willing to go there. Because if you don't get into your firm, your application will automatically transfer to your insurance. As well, kind of a significant number of students do end up at their insurance choice university. So do give it, careful consideration. If you really have your heart set on going to a particular university, you could get in touch with them about any foundation years they might be offering. So essentially, you could have the main course you want to do as your firm, and then the foundation year as the insurance. So that would mean if you didn't get into it the first time round, you could complete a foundation year just a 1-year course with lower entry requirements, and then you can normally progress onto the main course you want to do in the first place. So deciding on your firm and insurance choices is quite a big decision. In terms of why it matters, you need to kind of stick with the order once you've made that decision. So you have to kind of stay committed to going to your firm choice if you get the grades, and then going to your insurance if you don't get the grades for the first choice. So do give your insurance just as much thought as your firm. There's been a 34% increase in applicants going to their insurance choice uni since 2014. So do your research just as carefully for your insurance as you would for your firm choice uni, and then be really clear about the order in which you list them. So I'm just going to give you a moment to read through all the combinations of offers and replies that you might expect to see. Okay, so in terms of further research you can do to help you make this decision, we'd normally advise that you visit or revisit the universities you've applied to when making your firm and insurance choices, but obviously that's quite tricky in the current circumstances. However, check whether they're offering something like a virtual open day or even a virtual applicant day. The difference between an open day and applicant day is applicant days are for applicants who have been offered a place at the university, and they provide more kind of tailored information regarding your specific course. So universities are now starting to offer virtual open days. You can also start looking more into the non-academic side of university, so things like the Students' Union. So the SU is a big part of of university life. They represent the student voice, but they also oversee the clubs and societies. So have a look at what they can offer you. Look more at the accommodation options. Consider the living costs of the city. And just generally, what is the city or town or campus like? Some more areas to look into are the actual modules on the course. So, for example, English at one university will be very different from English at another university. It's not like at school where there's a fairly similar curriculum. Individual courses will vary greatly between different universities. So you want to be looking at the actual modules on the courses. Those are the individual topics that you'll be studying. Look at the core modules that everyone has to study and the optional modules that you might be able to pick and choose from. Look as well at things like placement years. So is there the option to spend a whole year working in the sector, particularly for certain industries like engineering? That's quite beneficial. Maybe there's a study abroad year as well that you could get involved in. Also look at location. So this is often underestimated, but ultimately it's somewhere you're going to be living for 3 or more years. So is it a city or campus university? How far is it from the closest hub? And which would you prefer, to be in a city or campus? For me personally, I am from Plymouth, but I studied in London. And initially London seemed like it would be quite far away from Plymouth. But when I looked into it, I found out there were really good transport links between the two. So it would be easy for me to travel home if I wanted to. And then just look into anything else that matters to you personally. So it might be career support. It might be whether you're guaranteed accommodation on campus, or if you have to find your own place, quality of that accommodation and the general campus facilities, and any other support services, kind of well-being support, anything like that that's important to you. So I kind of mentioned most of these points, but one other thing to consider is whether the offer from the university is achievable. So certainly, at least for your insurance choice, what they're offering should be achievable in terms of the grades that you expect to receive on results day. So just a few tips from students about things they wish they'd considered when deciding on their firm and insurance choices. Obviously, visiting the campus in person isn't possible at the moment, but like I said, do have a look at any virtual open days or virtual campus and accommodation tours. So many universities on their accommodation websites will have things like 3D images of their rooms. They'll have online tours of the campus. At the very least, you can kind of go sightseeing via Google Maps. So use Google Maps to have a look at the campus, the area around the university. Be wary about basing your decision purely on reputation and league tables. They can be useful, but bear in mind some particularly high-ranking universities have kind of lower student satisfaction, and also ranking will vary massively between subjects. So a kind of middle ranking university might have a particular subject that's very highly ranked. So you should always be filtering by subject area when you're looking at league tables. Don't make any hasty decisions. Do take your time, because it is a big choice to make, but do stick to the deadlines, which I'll show you in just a moment. You can ask current students about their honest opinion of the place, but if you don't know any current students, you can have a look at websites like whatuni.com, where they have reviews from current students, or you can also chat to current students on Unibuddy. If you are a list person, you can draw up a kind of pros and cons. I'll give you an example of that in just a moment. And overall, just kind of trust your own instincts. Avoid being overly influenced by what other people think you should do, because ultimately it's you who has to study there for 3 or more years. Here's just a quick example of how you could compare universities to help make your final decisions. These are just some examples of factors you might consider, but you can draw up your own list based on what is most important to you personally. Okay, so in terms of how you actually respond to your offers, the crucial thing to know is you have to wait until all the universities you've applied to have responded to choose your firm and insurance. The only way around that is to actually withdraw one of your applications. So say if you've heard back from 4 out of your 5 universities and you are 100% sure you definitely don't want to go to that 5th university that still hasn't replied to you, you could withdraw from that, which frees you up then to respond to the other universities. UCAS will send you reminders and will prompt you to respond. They'll also show you your kind of individual deadline for responding. If you ignore the offers, it will be declined by default, so obviously avoid that. And you reply to your offers via UCAS Track. So in the Your Choices section of UCAS Track, you will see a Reply to Offers button. If you can't see it yet, it's because you might not have heard back from all your universities yet. If you do have any difficulties at all when trying to respond to your offers, just get in touch with UCAS via their social media or via their phone lines, and they can easily help you out. So obviously the current pandemic has affected both when universities can make offers and your deadlines for applying to offers. This is going to remain under review, but as it stands, here are the current deadlines from UCAS for replying to offers. So as you can see, your reply deadline is based on when you received the last decision from the universities you applied to. The deadlines all aim to give you a little bit of time to think about your firm and insurance and to make those decisions via UCAS Track. Any applications received after the 30th of June are entered into clearing, and I'll explain a bit more about clearing towards the end of the presentation. So if you didn't receive any offers at all, you still have a chance to apply to other courses via UCAS Extra. So UCAS Extra is already open and it will be available until the 5th of July. You apply via UCAS Track, and you can use the UCAS course search to see if there are any vacancies still available on courses, and you can apply to one at a time via UCAS Track. You need to use the same personal statement and application form as you did for your previous applications, and it makes sense to contact the university before you apply to them, just to make sure they will consider your application, just because you can only apply to one course at a time with Extra. So after you've made your decisions about your firm and insurance choices, you have a grace period of about 14 days in which you can change your mind. So you do this by contacting UCAS directly. After the 14 days, it's very tricky to change your firm and insurance options. So the only way to do it would be to kind of withdraw from your firm choice and then apply again to your insurance via clearing. But obviously in that process, you're risking losing your place at your firm choice. So again, if you find yourself in this situation and you've passed the grace period, communicate with the university that you want to go to, make sure they're on board with you coming to them before you do anything on UCAS. So if you didn't meet the requirements for your firm choice university, your application will automatically roll over to your insurance choice. So what you would see on UCAS Track is either UF for unconditional firm or UI next, unconditional insurance next to the universities you've applied to. Some universities might offer you an alternative course if you didn't meet the entry requirements for your firm choice. So for example, they might offer you a place on their foundation year. It's completely up to you whether or not you want to accept that offer. So just because you listed a uni as your firm choice, it doesn't mean you then have to accept any alternative offers they give you if you don't get into the kind of first choice. It's completely up to you whether you take that alternative offer or whether you instead go to your insurance choice. So on results day, regardless of what grades you see in front of you, you need to check UCAS Track to see where you have a place. Even if you haven't quite met the entry requirements for your firm choice, some universities may still offer you a place. So don't base it purely on the grades you see, base it on what you see on UCAS Track. If you're at all unclear on whether you have a place, just call up the university to confirm. Also on results day, you will be able to go through clearing. So if you haven't met the requirements of either your firm or your insurance choices, or if you've decided you no longer want to go to either of those universities, you still have a chance to be accepted onto a course through clearing. So clearing basically matches courses with vacancies with students who don't have a place on a course. You can search the UCAS website to find courses with vacancies, and you'll then need to call up the university to discuss your qualifications, discuss their kind of entry requirements, and find out whether they'll accept you, whether they would offer you a place on their course. So you can call up multiple universities, and then you kind of can choose out of those who have said that they would offer you a place, which you apply for. You can actually apply for a place at university through clearing, even if you've never applied before. So if you hadn't been planning on going to uni, but on results day you have a change of heart, you can actually apply to university through clearing. So other options that become available to you on results day are things like adjustment. So this is when you actually do better than you expected and you want to explore your options whilst keeping your confirmed place at your firm choice university. You could defer a year, so you can hold on to your place at uni but start following September. And you can still decline completely from the process and not go to university that year. So just to kind of summarise the main points from what I've said, do take your time and consider all your options. It is a big decision. You know, making this choice of firm and insurance is almost as big a decision as choosing where to apply to in the first place. Carry on doing your research into those areas I mentioned right up until your deadline. And kind of don't feel rushed into it. So don't panic and make any quick decisions. Even if you're still waiting to hear back from universities, you still will have time before you have to submit your final decisions. And make sure you're truly happy with your choice before you click submit, because you kind of have to stick with those firm and insurance choices unless you decide to withdraw completely at a later date. Ask for advice from teachers, parents, anyone else, but do remember it's your decision. Ultimately, you're the one who has to study there for 3 or more years. So avoid being kind of overly influenced by what other people think you should do. We're going to send you an information sheet following this talk with the kind of key info on there. I suggest as well, considering the current situation, that you keep an eye on the UCAS website for any changes to kind of key dates or deadlines. And stay in touch as well with your schools. Check your emails regularly just in case any situation changes. Thank you very much for joining us today and have a lovely rest of the day.